Human beings can lose many things: money, fame, love. But the most precious thing they waste every day is time. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher of Rome, once said, "Life is not short, but we make it so." He did not teach us to escape the world, but to see it clearly, to realize that happiness does not live in the future, but in this very moment. When we learn to live slowly, with gratitude, humility, and harmony with nature, we do not merely live, we become one with the universe. Immortality, he said, is not to live forever, but to live deeply. Every breath, every sunrise, every quiet thought is a miracle. And if we can cherish each passing moment, then our souls, like Seneca believed, will be free, eternal, and shining like a star across the endless night of time. In the modern world, people can lose many things and still find ways to reclaim them. Money can be earned again, fame can be rebuilt, love can be mended. But there is one thing that, once gone, can never return: time. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher of Rome, called it the most precious resource that mankind squanders without realizing it. To him, time was not merely a unit of life's measurement. It was the very essence of existence itself. Every passing moment is a piece of life lost forever. And the greatest tragedy of humanity, Seneca believed, is not death, but living as if we will never die. He reminded us that humans are not short of time. They simply fail to use it wisely. Seneca saw the paradox of how people live. They cling tightly to money, guard their possessions, fight over wealth. Yet they freely waste time, the one thing even emperors cannot buy back. In his De brevitate vitae, on the shortness of life, he wrote that most of us live as if we were immortal, lost in trivial pursuits, chasing endless ambitions, only to awaken too late and realize life has slipped by like a dream. To Seneca, time is nature's fairest judge. It discriminates against no one, regardless of wealth or power. Everyone is granted the same treasure, 24 hours in a day. But the value of that gift lies entirely in how we use it. He once wrote, "It is not that life is short, but that we make it so." Those words echo across millennia, still piercing the hearts of people caught in the machinery of work and technology. For we do not truly live, we merely exist, distracted by countless diversions. Seneca urged that if we wish to live fully, we must treat time as a living soul. Do not let yesterday steal today through regret, nor let tomorrow steal today through fear. The Stoic lives in the present moment, not because they disregard the future, but because they understand that only the present truly belongs to them. To Seneca, time was not merely a stream, it was a test of awareness. Those who fail to see its value are swept away like leaves in a river. Those who understand it learn to steer the current of their own lives. He taught that living well is not about the length of years, but the depth of moments. Each day, one should ask, if today were my last, am I living according to what I truly believe? That question transforms time into something sacred, turning every ordinary second into an opportunity to awaken, to love, to learn, to give thanks. Seneca did not write about time as a distant philosopher, but as a man who had faced fear, loss, and death itself. He spent his final years under the watchful eye of Emperor Nero, fully aware that any day might be his last. Yet even in that shadow, he remained calm. For to him, time was no longer an enemy, but a companion, teaching him to cherish each breath as a gift. That is the spirit of Seneca, not to fear time's passing, but to fear letting it pass without meaning. Seneca believed that only when a person truly understands the value of time can they learn the art of living slowly, an art not defined by pace or rhythm, but by the depth of awareness. To live slowly is not to withdraw from the world, but to pause long enough to feel life more deeply. In Seneca's Rome, the beating heart of power, where people raced for fame, recognition, and remembrance, he chose the opposite path, turning inward, watching the river of life flow by like a calm observer on the bank, quiet, steady, and fully conscious. He taught that only when we stop do we truly see what is happening, not out there in the world, but within the mind itself. In a letter to Lucilius, Seneca wrote, "Live each day as if it were a complete life." This was not a call to live in haste, but to live in awareness. Each day, do what is meaningful, speak with sincerity, and feel life with all your senses, as if it were both your first and last day. The Stoic does not live slowly by detachment, but by depth. They do less, but with total focus. They speak little, but each word carries weight. They walk slowly, but every step is filled with understanding. They do not let time slip away like water. They savor it like wine, to be tasted, appreciated, and cherished. Seneca saw humanity's tragedy in its busyness. People mistake being busy for being alive, when in truth, they are missing life itself. He said, "No one can live happily if they are constantly torn between the past and the future." To him, living slowly does not mean doing less. It means being fully present in what one does. When you eat, know that you are eating. When you speak, truly listen. When you work, pour attention into every detail. Time becomes precious only when it is lived consciously. That is why Seneca regarded awareness as the supreme skill. It transforms every ordinary moment into something sacred. He compared the life of the busy man to someone lost in a maze. The faster he runs, the less he knows where he is going. The Stoic is different. They understand that there is no need to rush toward the destination, for the destination is here, in this very moment. They are not afraid of slowness. They fear blindness. Seneca wrote, "You will never reach your goal if you do not know where you are going." To him, the art of living slowly is the art of realignment, ceasing to chase the noise of the world in order to hear the voice of the soul. And when one learns that, they discover that time does not merely pass, it unfolds, layer by layer, revealing the hidden depths of existence waiting to be explored. Living slowly, for Seneca, was not a reaction to modern chaos. It was a return to the natural rhythm of being. Nature never rushes, yet everything is accomplished. The sun does not rise early, spring does not arrive late, the river does not hurry, yet it always reaches the sea. When humans move in harmony with this rhythm, they learn to live slowly without stagnation, to be still without surrender. They no longer try to control time. They live with it. And in that, every breath becomes a miracle, every morning a gift. For Seneca knew, those who live slowly are not the ones who have more time. They are the ones who have learned how to be fully alive within the time they have. Seneca once said, "We never truly live in the present. We are always haunted by the past and pulled by the future." In that reminder, he revealed one of humanity's deepest tragedies. We are rarely here, fully alive in the moment we inhabit. We often believe we are living, yet our minds are elsewhere, chained to memories we cannot change or fears that have not yet come to pass. To Seneca, living without presence is like reading a great book without ever turning the page. You may be there, but you never grasp the meaning. His advice was clear. If you wish to master time, first master the mind. For time does not exist in the clock. It exists in the way we experience it. For the Stoics, presence was not a skill. It was a state of awareness. They did not seek joy in the future, nor mourn what was lost in the past. They lived in the present, because only here does life truly unfold. Seneca wrote, "Only those who live in the present are truly free." When we devote our full attention to this moment, the burdens of time dissolve. Sadness cannot bind us. Fear cannot invade us, because the mind has become a sanctuary of peace. And in that stillness, we realize something profound. All human suffering begins when we abandon the present, when we dwell on what has died or worry about what has yet to be born. Awareness, in Seneca's philosophy, does not come from withdrawing from the world, but from seeing it more clearly without being consumed by it. He advised Lucilius that to understand oneself, one must observe the mind as if observing another person. When anger arises, watch it as a passing event. When fear appears, observe it as a drifting cloud. The Stoic does not suppress emotions, but neither do they submit to them. They let the mind remain like a still lake, capable of reflection, but untouched by disturbance. And it is through this awareness that one escapes the chains of time. For once you can see the mind, you are no longer dragged by it. Seneca likened life to a river. Those fixated on the source or the mouth miss the very place they stand. The water is always flowing, but only the one who pauses can feel its coolness, hear its murmuring, and see the light dancing on its surface. Likewise, those who live in the present do not resist the current of time. They flow with it. They neither cling nor push. They simply notice and allow things to pass naturally. In that acceptance, they find freedom, not because time has stopped, but because the mind has ceased running from it. The Stoics understood, we cannot control how long we live, but we can control how we live in each moment. Presence, in Seneca's view, is the truest measure of a meaningful life. He said, "The wise live as if each moment were an entire life." When one is truly present, they no longer chase the future for happiness, because happiness is already here. They no longer dig through the past for meaning, because meaning reveals itself in the now. The present moment is eternal, if only we learn to pause and listen. Seneca called it the gift of awareness. When the mind no longer wanders, time becomes infinite. For in a single instant of true consciousness, one can live an entire lifetime. And once we understand that, we cease to fear the passing of time, because every moment, when lived fully, becomes eternal. Seneca once wrote, "Silence is not found in the absence of noise, but in a mind that is undisturbed." To him, silence was the art of a mature soul, the courage to face oneself without fear, to sit calmly in the chaos of life and listen to the voice within. He understood that the more people run from silence, the further they drift from self-understanding. The noisy world makes us believe we are living, when in truth, we are merely being carried away. Silence, however, allows us to see more clearly, not only the world around us, but the world within. When one pauses, grows still, and observes, they begin to hear the whisper of wisdom, a sound that can only arise when all other noise has faded away. The Stoics did not see silence as escape, but as a state of strength. They were not afraid of solitude, because they knew solitude is where the soul is cleansed. Seneca called moments of stillness the sacred time of thought, the space where one meets themselves again after being consumed by the world. In silence, we see our raw fears, hidden desires, and unhealed wounds, not to suffer them, but to heal them through understanding. For only when we dare to face ourselves do we stop searching for peace outside. Seneca advised, "Spend time alone each day to learn how to befriend your own mind." Those who can endure silence no longer depend on the world to feel whole. To Seneca, silence was not emptiness. It was fertile ground for awareness. In the calm of the mind, the seeds of wisdom begin to grow. When we sit quietly in the night, listening to our own breath, we realize that every answer has always been within us. We were simply too loud to hear it. He believed that people lose themselves not from ignorance, but from their inability to stop and listen. Stoic philosophy teaches that only in silence can reason be illuminated. And in that light, we learn to separate ourselves from emotion. This silence is not coldness, but clarity. The ability to observe anger, sorrow, and fear without becoming their prisoner. Seneca once described the mind as a lake. When it is disturbed, it cannot reflect the sky. But when it is still, it becomes a perfect mirror of the universe. Silence, therefore, is not stagnation. It is the balance between movement and awareness. The Stoic remains calm amidst turmoil because they have cultivated stillness within. When the world outside grows loud, they turn inward. When life pulls them away, they anchor themselves in breath. In those moments, they understand. Silence is not doing nothing. It is mastering oneself. And when the mind reaches perfect stillness, time itself seems to stop. Not because the world has ceased to turn, but because the soul has ceased to resist. The silence Seneca spoke of is not a privilege reserved for sages or hermits. It is something anyone can touch if they learn to listen. In his world, as in ours, people were surrounded by the noise of ambition, comparison, and fear. Yet, when we dare to step away from that noise, even for a brief moment, we feel something sacred, the breath of life itself. In silence, we can hear our heartbeat, the whisper of the soul, and the soft passage of time reminding us gently, "You are still alive." That is when one realizes that silence is not merely rest. It is a return to oneself, to reason, and to the vast universe to which we have always belonged. Seneca once said, "No one is poor for having too little, only for wanting too much." In a single sentence, he touched the root of human suffering, the inability to feel enough. Misery does not come from lack, but from endless desire. Anxiety does not arise from loss, but from the insatiable need to fill a void. Through Seneca, Stoic philosophy teaches that a person is only truly free when they understand their own limits, when they can stop in the middle of the endless race of ambition and realize that enough is not having little, but needing nothing more. In the stillness of the mind, when all the voices of desire fade, one begins to hear the quiet truth of the soul whispering, "You already have everything you need to live in peace." Seneca lived in an era of Roman opulence, a world that measured worth by wealth and power. But within that abundance, he saw another kind of slavery to desire, to comparison, to the fear of loss. He wrote, "The more you have, the more you fear, for everything that can be lost holds you captive." To him, the truly rich are not those who possess much, but those who need little. Only when freed from endless craving can a person live fully in the present. Every moment, however small, becomes complete when we stop to feel it. True abundance is not in possessions, but in perception. The one who appreciates what they have already lives in prosperity, while the one chasing what they lack will never rest. The Stoics believe that real happiness comes from harmony between desire and reality. When you desire what you already have, rather than dream of what lies beyond reach, you discover that the world is already perfect. Seneca called this the art of enough, the art of knowing when to stop. He likened greed to a bottomless cup. No matter how much water you pour, it never fills. But when you realize that peace comes not from adding more, but from stopping the pouring, you truly gain mastery over your life. In stillness, Seneca saw that nature had already given humanity everything it needs: light to see, earth to stand on, breath to live, and a mind to understand. But in always searching for more, we forget that we are already surrounded by treasure. He wrote, "You will never be satisfied if you do not learn to be satisfied with less." This was not a call to poverty, but a reminder of the natural boundary of happiness. Happiness cannot be stored, nor can it be measured by wealth. It is a state of balance between what we desire and what we accept. When people stop and feel content, they are no longer swept along by the current of time. Life slows down, deepens, becomes authentic. A simple meal, a quiet morning, a heartfelt conversation, all turn into miracles. And within such simplicity, the soul finds a richness that no gold can buy. Seneca called those who know contentment the ones who have conquered themselves. For to be content, one must battle greed, the fear of being left behind, and the illusion that happiness always lies ahead. Yet once they overcome that, they attain freedom. Freedom from comparison, from others' judgment, from the invisible hunger of the mind. They no longer need to prove their worth through anything outside themselves, for peace within is proof enough. And as Seneca wrote, "No one can take anything from you if you do not need it." That is the ultimate abundance, when happiness no longer depends on what we possess, but flows naturally from the serenity of being alive in this very moment. Seneca once wrote, "No slave is more pitiful than the one who believes he is free, yet is ruled by his desires." In an empire of power and opulence, where men could own cities, armies, and even the lives of others, Seneca declared that true freedom does not lie outside, but within. A person may command thousands, yet if they cannot command their own emotions, they are still a slave. The Stoics did not seek freedom in wealth, rank, or fame. They sought it in the serenity of reason, in the mastery of the mind, amid the chaos of the world. For Seneca, freedom was not the ability to do whatever one wishes, but the strength to never be compelled to act against one's better nature. The Stoics believed that when you let emotion govern your life, you hand the reins of your destiny to others. Anger, envy, fear, and ambition, all are captors of the mind, turning a person into a prisoner of their own impulses. Seneca called them the chains of the soul, invisible yet heavier than iron. He wrote, "You cannot command fate until you have mastered your mind." Thus, his philosophy was a journey inward, learning to observe emotions without being swept away by them, realizing that nothing external can harm us unless we allow it to. The Stoic does not deny emotion. They still feel joy and sorrow, but they are not led by them. They feel without attachment, love without possession, lose without despair. Seneca recounted that some people, though physically free, live in bondage, shackled by fear and desire. Yet others, imprisoned in darkness, remain free, because their minds cannot be chained. He wrote, "You may cut my body in half, but you cannot touch my spirit." It was not arrogance, but a declaration of inner freedom, a freedom no tyrant could ever seize. The Stoics believed that when reason leads, the mind becomes a lighthouse in the storm. Outside may be chaos, but inside burns an unshakable light. This is the power of inner freedom, the ability to stay calm in the tempest, to stand firm when all else falls, to smile even amid loss. Seneca saw clearly that the external world is always changing, and anyone who ties their freedom to it will live in constant fear. Money can vanish, power can be stolen, fame can fade, but inner freedom is untouchable. It cannot be granted or taken away. It can only be found when one dares to look within. He taught, to be free, learn not to depend. Dependence on emotion, on others, on possessions. These are all subtle forms of slavery. The Stoic breaks those chains not by rejecting the world, but by understanding it. For once we see that nothing external holds power over our peace of mind, we attain freedom, true and absolute. Inner freedom, in Seneca's view, is not a destination but a discipline. Each day brings moments that test our control, insults, losses, unpredictability. But these are not obstacles. They are opportunities to practice mastery. He wrote, "No wind is favorable to the sailor who does not know his destination." When we know who we wish to be, calm, clear, and free, every hardship becomes a lesson, not a punishment. The Stoic meets suffering as a blacksmith meets fire, not with fear, but with purpose, using it to forge strength. And when that inner steel is tempered, every storm becomes but a passing breeze. Seneca believed that the one who masters their own mind possesses the entire universe. Seneca once said, "Reason is the lamp of the soul." To him, reason was not merely a tool for thought. It was the light that guided humanity through the darkness of passion and impulse, the lighthouse keeping the soul from losing its way in life's storm. In Stoic philosophy, reason was the most sacred gift the universe had given to humankind, the force that separated us from beasts, lifted us above chaos, and gave us the power to perceive truth. When guided by reason, one walks like a traveler holding a torch through the night. They may stumble or grow weary, but they never walk blind. Yet when reason is lost, emotion takes the reins. Greed, fear, and anger, fires that can burn both the soul and the brief time it's given. Seneca saw that humans are not destroyed by the world outside, but by the storms within their own minds. He wrote, "No tempest is more dangerous than the one that rages inside." And the only medicine for that storm was reason, the faculty that sees things as they are, unclouded by emotion, unfooled by illusion. Reason, he said, is the truest companion, always near, yet too often ignored. When we are angry, we forget that anger changes nothing. When we are afraid, we forget that fear brings no safety. When we are greedy, we forget that more never means happier. Reason doesn't erase emotion. It puts emotion in its rightful place. It allows us to feel without being consumed, to love without blindness, and to live without losing ourselves in the tide. To the Stoics, reason was part of the Logos, the divine order governing the universe. By living according to reason, one aligns with that order instead of fighting against it. Seneca called this living according to nature, not in the sense of following instinct, but of following the higher nature within us, our capacity for reason. Guided by it, we stop chasing fleeting desires. We discern what is worth pursuing and what must be released. Reason is the compass that never changes direction, even when we find ourselves in the darkest forest or the roughest sea. And so the Stoic, by listening to reason each day, keeps their soul luminous amid a world clouded by illusion and indulgence. Seneca advised, "Ask yourself before every act, does this accord with reason?" It seems simple, yet it is the key to freedom. For when one pauses to think, one ceases to be ruled by impulse. Reason allows us to see consequences before they come, to distinguish between what we want and what we need, to understand that sometimes surrender is victory and silence is power. The rational person is not cold. They simply see further than emotion can reach. They can weep, yet remain wise, suffer yet not despair, fail yet not fall apart. For reason teaches that nothing is eternal except the dignity of a soul that knows how to illuminate itself. Seneca considered maintaining reason amidst chaos to be the highest test of human strength. He understood that emotion is an inseparable part of our nature, but believed that true humanity shines brightest when reason leads the way. Amid the world's noise and time's turbulence, only those who can hear the voice within, the voice of reason, find their true path. And once guided by that inner light, one no longer fears the dark, for they understand that illumination does not come from the sun or from any lamp outside. It burns quietly within. When reason shines, the soul shines, and in that radiance lies the unending flame of awareness, freedom, and peace. Seneca once said, "No one becomes strong in times of peace." To him, courage and resilience were not gifts of birth, but the result of training reason through hardship. Storms, struggles, pain, all the things we fear most, are, in truth, the forge where the soul is shaped and strengthened. The Stoics did not seek to avoid suffering. They sought to understand it. They saw adversity as the fire that tempers steel, and fear as the teacher that forces us to confront ourselves. Seneca wrote, "No one knows how strong they are until they are thrown into the storm. And in that moment, when the world seems to collapse, we discover that what holds us upright is not muscle, but mind, reason, the unshakable pillar in the winds of fate." For Seneca, courage was not the absence of fear, but acting rightly despite it. Fear, he believed, is natural. But when it rules us, we become prisoners of our own minds. Reason, then, is the tool of liberation. It shows us that most of our fears are illusions, shadows enlarged by imagination. He wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." When we grasp this truth, we begin to reclaim control. The Stoic learns to face fear without surrendering to it, to see it clearly, strip it of exaggeration, and let it pass. They do not avoid death, loss, or failure. They accept them as parts of life, and through acceptance, they become unbreakable. Seneca described the courageous person as one who walks into the storm with a tranquil soul. He did not mean recklessness, but strength born of disciplined reason, a mind so steady that no chaos can unseat it. Such a person knows that the world will always change, but their essence, their reason and dignity, is theirs alone. Thus, they fear neither loss, nor pain, nor death. They do not run from fate, because they understand that escape is impossible. And when they stop running, they find the deepest form of courage, the courage to accept. Stoic steadfastness is not stubbornness, but wisdom, the calm of one who knows that nothing can truly harm them unless they allow it. To Seneca, every challenge was the universe's invitation to grow stronger. When viewed through reason, adversity becomes a lesson. and loss becomes transformation. He wrote, "You cannot choose the wind, but you can adjust your sails." Reason is the compass that guides the soul through turbulent seas. Waves may strike, but they do not drown. Winds may push, but they do not shatter. In Seneca's eyes, courage was not about conquering the world, but conquering the trembling mind within. For once we master fear, every storm becomes part of the journey, and we, instead of being carried by it, begin to steer it. The Stoics saw time itself as a chain of trials, and only the steadfast can walk through it without losing themselves. Seneca reminded, "Do not pray for an easy life, pray for a strong soul." Adversity does not weaken us, it reveals who we truly are. In the storm, reason is the light, courage the stride, and steadfastness the heart. Together they form an unbreakable strength. The Stoic does not fear the passing of time, for they understand that each day, no matter how difficult, is an opportunity to refine their virtue. And when they learn to stand firm amid what cannot be controlled, they reach the highest freedom. Freedom from fear, from weakness, and from the fragile illusions of the self. Seneca once wrote, "No one becomes wise without having suffered." To him, adversity was the greatest teacher of the soul, for only in darkness do we truly learn how to see the light. In Stoic philosophy, suffering is not punishment, but the universe's examination, a sacred mechanism through which character is refined. Just as fire tests gold, adversity tests the human spirit. Seneca believed that without cracks, the soul would remain imprisoned in the shadow of complacency. It is only when life throws us into the fire of trials that our true nature is revealed. And through that revelation, we do not merely survive, we grow, deepen, and awaken. Seneca did not romanticize pain, but he regarded it with the clear eyes of reason. Remember, nothing happens to you that is not necessary. Every hardship carries a message about limitation, patience, faith in the order of the cosmos. When pain comes, we are given two choices: to curse it and collapse, or to search for the lesson hidden within. The Stoic chooses the latter. They understand that suffering is not meant to destroy, but to purify. Each failure teaches humility, each loss, gratitude, each betrayal, self-trust. For Seneca, life was a harsh but holy classroom, the forge in which the soul is educated toward greatness. In his letters to Lucilius, Seneca often advised his friend not to pray for an easy life, but for a stronger soul to endure it. He wrote, "The universe never sends you a trial you cannot overcome, only what is necessary for you to become who you are meant to be." That is the essence of Stoicism, the belief that every event has a purpose, even when it is hidden from our understanding. When we suffer, we ask, "Why me?" And Seneca, with calm wisdom, would answer, "Because your soul needed it." For only by walking through the storm can we learn how to stand. Only by losing can we see the worth of what remains. Only by enduring can we discover how strong we truly are. Seneca believed that hardship strips the soul of illusion. Fame, wealth, status, all fade when we face true suffering. When everything false is torn away, what remains is essence, and that is when the soul shines brightest. He said, "We do not know who is brave until we see them in danger, nor who is wise until we see them in confusion." Every trial is a mirror reflecting the maturity of the spirit. The Stoic does not avoid hardship. They meet it as a warrior meets battle, not seeking the fight, but understanding that through it, they are revealed. And in that process, they do not grow bitter, they grow illuminated. In Seneca's philosophy, Suffering is not destruction, but revelation. Life, he said, is like a stern teacher, one who disciplines with hardship, yet gives a wisdom no book can provide. Each wound is a lesson, each loss a reminder, each tear a droplet of light that cleanses the soul. When we stop resisting adversity and start listening to it, we realize that nothing is meaningless. Every pain is the raw material of awakening, and when the soul understands this, it becomes unbreakable. For the one who learns from suffering no longer fears it, and in that moment, they attain true freedom, strength, and serenity beyond decay. Seneca once said, "Accept everything that happens as if you had chosen it yourself." That was the essence of one of the most beautiful ideas in Stoic philosophy, amor fati, the love of fate. For Seneca, acceptance was not enough, because acceptance still carries a trace of resistance. True freedom, he believed, begins when we learn to love even what we did not wish for. He taught that the universe never errs, and that every event, no matter how small, happens in the right place, at the right time, and in the right way. When we learn to see life through the eyes of understanding, we stop dividing the world into good and bad, gain and loss. Everything becomes part of one great symphony, a melody we cannot conduct, but can choose to dance to. The Stoic does not fight fate. He moves in harmony with it. Seneca believed that when we resent fate, we wound ourselves twice, once through the event and again through resistance. He wrote, "We cannot make the wind stop blowing, but we can adjust our sails." Thus, instead of asking why life is as it is, he urged us to ask how we might live better within it. Amor fati is not surrender, it is awakening. The realization that everything that happens has purpose, even when reason cannot yet perceive it. To love fate is to turn it from a tyrant into a companion. Rather than being carried helplessly by the current of life, we learn to swim with it, to feel each wave, trusting that whether the tide rises or falls, the sea remains the sea, and we remain ourselves. Seneca endured losses few could bear: exile, disgrace, betrayal, and finally, a forced death. Yet even in his last moments, he remained serene, for he had trained his mind not to resist the flow of existence. "We cannot choose how we are born," he said, "but we can choose how we live and how we leave." That was the living embodiment of amor fati, love for the natural order of the cosmos, the faith that everything, even death, has its rightful place. The Stoic does not see fate as an enemy, but as a mirror of the soul. The clearer the soul, the more beauty it sees in the design that once frightened it. Amor fati does not make people passive, it makes them invincible. For when nothing is feared, everything can be embraced with courage and trust. Seneca believed that one who loves their fate can never be defeated, because even failure becomes a lesson. When illness strikes, they learn patience. When loss comes, they learn gratitude. When death approaches, they learn release. Amor fati teaches not only endurance, but joy. The smile of one who knows that every sorrow plays a role in the universe's perfect composition. It is a joy that does not depend on victory, but on harmony, the unity between soul and destiny. For Seneca, loving fate did not mean inaction. It meant acting with clarity and peace. When we know that nothing lies outside the will of nature, we stop acting out of fear or blind desire. Every action becomes deliberate, guided by awareness rather than impulse. Such a person no longer wishes for another life. They make this one meaningful. They do not ask, "Why did this happen to me?" but say, "This happened for me." to teach, to shape, to awaken. And in that moment, they attain the highest freedom, no longer struggling against life, but flowing with it, loving every moment, whether radiant or painful, because they finally understand this is what it means to be alive. Seneca once said, "Nothing is permanent except change." To him, this was not a lament, but a beautiful truth of existence, that everything in the universe is in motion, and it is through this motion that life gains its meaning. When we learn to accept impermanence, we no longer fear loss. When we understand that all things are in constant transformation, we begin to smile at change. Seneca taught that the wise do not cling to the past or worry about the future. They live fully in the present, knowing that everything will pass. And it is precisely this passing that makes things precious. Like a flower that blooms and withers, like the day that rises and sets, every moment carries the beauty of its own fragility. To accept impermanence is to master the art of living. In Stoic philosophy, impermanence is not the enemy, but the teacher of wisdom. Seneca wrote, "We should not fear change, for the universe itself is a river, and we are the water within it." It is the perfect image of eternal transformation. Everything flows, yet nothing is ever truly lost. Death is but the reshaping of life. Loss is the transformation of love. When we understand this, we cease resisting time and begin to move with it. We no longer despair when a chapter closes, for we know it is only the beginning of another. Serenity, he said, is not found in stillness, but in the absence of fear toward movement. Once the mind understands this, every change, whether gentle or painful, becomes part of the cosmic rhythm. Seneca looked upon impermanence with gratitude. He said that it is because things can be lost that they deserve to be cherished. If life were endless, we would never learn to love deeply. If happiness were eternal, we would never learn to be fully present. He wrote, "When you kiss your child, remember that they may not be here tomorrow, and because of that, love them completely today." These words are not meant to instill fear, but to awaken us, to remind us that love, gratitude, and life itself only have meaning because they are fleeting. The Stoic does not fear impermanence. He walks with it. He does not see time as a thief, but as the great artist painting the ever-changing portrait of the universe. The serenity Seneca spoke of was not cold detachment, but deep understanding, a peace so profound it no longer resists. He compared the soul to a lake. When agitated, it distorts the reflection of the sky. When still, it mirrors the heavens perfectly. The Stoic does not try to make the world still, only their mind. When the mind reaches unconditional acceptance, nothing can wound it. For they understand that nothing is ever truly lost. Everything merely changes form. As rain becomes river, river becomes sea, and the sea returns to the sky. In that awareness, one stops clinging, fearing, or controlling, and begins to live with an open heart, welcoming both joy and sorrow as two faces of the same sacred flow. Seneca believed that those who remain calm in the face of impermanence have attained the highest form of freedom. They no longer ask, "Why did this end?" They say, "Thank you for having been." They do not curse the rain, they dance in it. They do not fear the dark, for they know dawn will come. Every change, great or small, is an expression of an eternal order, where nothing truly dies, but is constantly reborn in another form. And in that realization, the Stoic smiles at time itself, knowing that while we cannot hold on to a moment, we can live wholly within it. When one embraces impermanence with gratitude, they do not merely find peace, They become immortal in every fleeting breath. Seneca once wrote, "No one is short of time. We only fail to use it well." For him, this was not merely a reminder about managing life, but a profound philosophy of existence. Time, he believed, is not a thief that steals our youth, but a silent teacher showing us how to live wisely. Every passing second does not impoverish us, it enriches us, if we know how to listen. Seneca saw time as a boundless river. The foolish try to grasp every drop, fearing its flow. The wise understand that the current itself is what sustains life. Time does not come to punish us with loss, but to teach us appreciation, awareness, and growth in every fleeting moment. In his letters to Lucilius, Seneca often emphasized that living is not about prolonging breath, but about being present in every breath. He said, "It is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it." Most people, he lamented, chase what lies beyond their reach, fame, wealth, praise, and let time slip through their hands in pursuits that never touch the soul. He advised that every moment should be treated as a lesson sent by time itself. In joy, it teaches gratitude. In sorrow, understanding. In loss, letting go. In love, presence. Each instant, no matter how small, holds an opportunity to become wiser, deeper, kinder. Time takes nothing. It only gives lessons that pass unnoticed when we live too noisily to hear them. Seneca did not fear time's passage, for he understood that life's worth lies not in its length, but in its depth of awareness. He wrote, "Life is not short, but we make it so when we fail to live consciously." "A single day lived with awareness," he said, "is worth more than 100 years lived blindly." For time, like a strict teacher, strips away illusions and leaves us with truth. The truth that nothing lasts forever, and therefore, everything is precious. When one learns to face time without fear, one begins to live truly. They stop counting years and start measuring their life by moments of presence, by how often they felt gratitude, love, and authenticity. The Stoics viewed time as a mirror for the soul. Every year, month, and day reflects who we have become. Seneca urged, "Each night, ask yourself, have I lived today or merely existed?" In that reflection lies the art of meaningful living. Time does not preach, it simply shows. Through wrinkles, tears, and quiet joys, it reveals what we have learned. When we stop treating time as an enemy, we see it as our most loyal companion, one that has walked beside us through every stumble and every rise. And when we realize that every passing moment is a chance to grow wiser, kinder, and truer, time becomes the greatest teacher the soul could ever have. Seneca believed that those who learn from time no longer fear death, because they have already lived fully in each moment. Death, to him, was only the final punctuation in a beautiful sentence. The tragedy is not that the music ends, but that we never truly listened. He wrote, "You will never lose time if you use it to understand yourself." To live with that awareness is to see each day as a gift, each hour as a step toward inner maturity. Such a person no longer races against time. They walk with it, calmly and deliberately. And when the journey ends, they do not grieve, for they know that time has not taken anything away. It has only guided them home, back to the truth of their own soul. Seneca once wrote, "Death is not the enemy, but a part of nature. It is the final act in the play of life, one we cannot refuse, but can perform with dignity." To him, death was not an ending, but a continuation, a passage from one form to another. from one breath in the body to one pulse within the universe. In Stoic philosophy, life and death are not two separate realms, but two notes within the same eternal symphony. The Stoics did not seek to escape death, nor did they beg for immortality. They learned to embrace it as the most natural element of existence. Seneca advised, "Think of death every day, not to fear it, but to learn how to live. For only when one understands the finiteness of time can one truly cherish each passing moment." Seneca looked upon death with the eyes of one who had faced it more than once. He had endured exile, false accusations, and ultimately, the order to end his own life. Yet, in the moment when most would tremble, Seneca remained serene, as if merely fulfilling a natural ritual. He told his students, "I do not die. I simply return to the place from which I came." That sentence captures the essence of Stoic philosophy. Death takes nothing away. It merely returns the soul to the universe, like a drop of water to the sea, like a breeze to the sky. When we understand this, fear fades, for we realize that life is never lost. It simply changes form, like a melody pausing to begin another movement, gentle and infinite. For the Stoics, contemplating death was not an act of despair, but of enlightenment. Seneca wrote, "You will never live in peace until you have learned how to die in peace." He taught that only when we accept death as inevitable can we be free from fear. And when fear disappears, true freedom begins. Death, to Seneca, was time's final lesson, the reminder that all things visible will fade, but the soul, the essence of reason and consciousness, will merge with a greater order. Just as autumn is not the end of trees, but the preparation for spring, death is not loss, but the continuation of life in another form. The Stoic sees this with calmness. They do not wish for longer breath, only for deeper life, so that when the last breath comes, they can smile without regret. Seneca advised that the wise should greet death as an old friend, not avoiding, not fearing, but welcoming it with a gentle nod. He wrote, "Death is nature's remedy for the pains of life." When one has lived fully, death ceases to be tragedy. It becomes a homecoming. The Stoics believe that the soul does not vanish. It simply returns to the cosmic cycle where it belongs. Life, death, and rebirth are but three movements of the same universal breath. Seen through reason, nothing truly begins or ends. There is only the eternal flow of energy, essence, and spirit. And through that understanding, humans learn the greatest lesson: to live without fearing death, to love without fearing loss. For in this universe, nothing truly disappears. Everything merely transforms and endures. Seneca chose to depart with astonishing composure. He did not weep, tremble, or regret. He regarded death as the craftsman's final touch upon his masterpiece. In that moment, Stoic philosophy reached its purest height, where knowledge, reason, and courage became one. He left humanity a timeless message that death is not to be feared. What is truly terrifying is to live without ever realizing one is alive. When we understand that every passing moment is the soul's step toward unity with the cosmos, we cease to fear the darkness, for we know the light never dies. It only changes its dwelling. And in that serene awareness, humankind finds eternal freedom, not in escaping death, but in embracing it as a sacred part of life itself. Seneca once wrote, "Love life, not because it is perfect, but because it is yours." That is the spirit of amor vitae, the love for life itself, despite its cracks, its sorrows, and its limits. After learning to accept death as something natural, Seneca turned humanity back toward what matters most: living. Not merely existing, not just passing through time, but living with presence, with deep gratitude for every breath, every ray of light, every feeling, joy or sorrow alike. Amor vitae is when one gazes upon life with the eyes of a lover, not to possess, but to understand, to cherish. For one who truly loves does not only love the joy, but also the pain that shaped them into who they are. Seneca understood that love for life is not a shallow emotion born only when things are easy, but a spiritual commitment to existence itself. He wrote, "You cannot love life and still fear losing it." Amor vitae is the courage to open one's heart to life, even knowing it will end. To love, even when one knows what they love may vanish. To live fully in the present, even knowing the future may not come. For Seneca, to love life was not to deny suffering, but to see its beauty. For only when we suffer do we know we are alive. Only when we lose do we learn to appreciate. Only when we face limits do we glimpse the boundlessness of our soul. Thus, amor vitae is the summit of courage, the courage to love, to live, to embrace all that life offers without closing one's heart in fear. In Seneca's turbulent world, where the Roman Empire drowned in luxury, ambition, and violence, he still found joy in the simplest things: a quiet morning, an honest conversation, an afternoon reading beneath the sun. He said, "Happiness does not dwell in greatness, but in the simplicity of a soul that knows contentment." For him, loving life did not mean chasing moments of grandeur, but cherishing the quiet details that give life meaning. Those who love life do not waste time complaining or envying, but spend each second living more kindly, understanding more deeply, loving more fully. Amor vitae is not a fleeting joy, but a profound peace that arises when one realizes, though life is fragile, it remains the greatest gift the universe has ever given. Seneca taught that love for life is the foundation of all philosophy. For if we do not love existence, how can we love wisdom, justice, or humanity? Amor vitae is not merely a personal emotion, but a bond with the entire cosmos. When one learns to love life, one also learns to respect all living beings, understanding that all share the same breath, the same river of time. The Stoic does not love life because it brings happiness, but because it is happiness itself. They see in every drop of water, every whisper of wind, every touch of light, the expression of something divine. They do not ask why life brings pain, but how to love it more completely, even while pain endures. Amor vitae is when, after facing death, one chooses to love life again, not out of fear of losing it, but because they have come to understand its worth. Seneca believed that those who have overcome the fear of death are the ones who truly know how to live. They no longer waste time waiting for greatness to happen. They create greatness within the present moment. They see the sunrise not merely as the beginning of a day, but as a reminder that they are still alive, still have a chance to love, to change, to do good. And when they live with such gratitude, they move lightly through the world, not because life has become easier, but because they have understood every breath, every smile, every upward glance toward the sky is a miracle. In that philosophy, one no longer fears impermanence, for they have already found eternity. Within the moment, they learn to love this life. Seneca once said, "No one is poor who has gratitude in their heart. For him, Gratitude was the highest form of wisdom, the purest state of the soul, when one recognizes that everything arriving in life, whether good or bad, is a gift. From amor vitae, the love of life, Seneca went deeper into gratia vitae, the gratitude for existence itself. He believed that gratitude was not merely an emotional reaction to good fortune, but a way of seeing, a way of living, a philosophy of being. The grateful person is not thankful because they have everything, but because they understand they do not need everything to be happy. Gratitude does not change the outer world, but it illuminates the inner one, allowing us to find joy even among ruins and loss. Seneca wrote that the ungrateful are blind to the miracle of existence. For every morning we can still open our eyes, every breath that continues, every loved one who still remains. All are miracles that time may take away at any moment. Gratitude awakens the soul to the simple beauty of being alive. The grateful no longer seek happiness in distant places. They see it in the song of birds at dawn, in sunlight spilling through a window, in a sincere handshake, or a stranger's passing smile. Seneca taught that when we live with gratitude, everything becomes a lesson, every challenge an opportunity, every pain a seed of growth. The grateful do not ask, "Why me?" They say, "Thank you, for this came to teach me something." For Seneca, gratitude was not just a virtue, but a discipline of the mind. He believed that gratitude helps us face life with calmness and strength. When we are grateful, we no longer compare or complain. Instead, we accept and appreciate. Gratitude is like a lamp that dispels the darkness of desire, envy, and fear, the very things that make people suffer. In his letters to Lucilius, Seneca reminded, "The ungrateful man is a slave to circumstance. The grateful man is free amid adversity." When one practices gratitude, they break free from the chains of what they lack, to fully savor what they have. And in that moment, they become richer than anyone else. Seneca also believed that gratitude is the thread that binds human beings together, the foundation of compassion. When we are grateful for life, we are also grateful for the people who make it worth living. We thank those who helped us, but also those who hurt us, for they made us stronger. We are thankful for comfort, but also for hardship, for it taught us endurance. The Stoics did not look at life through resentment, but through reverence. They understood that adversity shapes the soul, and struggle tempers its strength. And in that realization, gratitude becomes a light that never goes out, a light that carries them through every storm without losing faith in humanity or the world. Seneca once wrote, "We cannot always control what happens, but we can always control how we receive it." That is the essence of gratia vitae, the deep gratitude for life, even when it is imperfect. The grateful do not deny suffering, but they refuse to let suffering define them. They see in every crack of life a place for light to enter. They understand that everything, even tears, has value, because it allows us to feel the depth of existence. When one lives with gratitude, they no longer wait for happiness to arrive. They become happiness itself. For gratitude is the harmony between the soul and the universe, the moment when one stops seeking the extraordinary, because they have realized that life itself, in this very moment, is the most extraordinary thing of all. Seneca once said, "No one becomes wise without first bowing before what they do not understand." For him, humility, humilitas animi, was the doorway to true wisdom. After one learns gratitude for life, they begin to realize that everything they possess, from knowledge to status, is but a grain of dust in the desert of the cosmos. Seneca taught that the deeper we understand the world, the more we recognize our own smallness. The arrogant are those still distant from truth, for the brighter the light of knowledge shines, the clearer the shadows of ignorance become. When a person bows, not before another, but before the vastness of nature, time, and fate, that is when they truly touch wisdom. In Seneca's philosophy, humility is not the lowering of one's worth, but an awakening from the illusion of one's greatness. He saw in his fellow Romans, drunk on power, conquest, and fame, an arrogance that blinded them to the truth that every empire eventually crumbles, and every name is eventually erased by time. Seneca wrote, "You may possess the world, but in the end, the earth will possess you." Those words were not meant to diminish humankind, but to remind us that power is only a temporary role in nature's grand play. The universe existed billions of years before we arrived, and will continue for billions after we are gone. In that brief moment between, what matters most is not conquest, but awareness, the understanding that we are but a small part of a vast and eternal whole. Humility, for Seneca, was the wisdom of a soul that knows its limits. The humble do not bow out of weakness, but because they are strong enough not to pretend to be great. They do not see themselves as the center of the world, for they understand that every form of life, from grain of sand to star, has its rightful place in nature's order. Seneca taught that the arrogant can learn nothing, for a cup already full cannot receive new water. But the humble are forever learning, for they know that no matter how far they have traveled, there will always be an infinity still unknown. Humility expands one's vision and frees the soul from the illusion of self-importance, the very illusion that blinds us to the simple beauty of truth. Seneca also saw humility as the path to inner freedom. The proud live in constant fear of losing their image, while the humble have nothing to lose. They need not prove nor compete, for they live in harmony with nature's law. When we stop competing with others to affirm our value, we begin to live authentically. Humility does not make us smaller, it makes us transparent, allowing the light of wisdom to pass through. The humble see greatness in simplicity, life in every breath, and lessons in every mistake. They do not ask, "Whom am I greater than?" but "What have I learned?" And in that simplicity, they attain a greatness unreachable to the proud. Seneca once reflected, "The universe does not need you to understand it, but you need it to exist." That line captures the essence of humilitas animi, the humility of the soul before the immeasurable. When a person stands atop the peak of knowledge, yet still knows how to bow, they transcend the boundary of the ego. They no longer see themselves as the center, but as part of the whole. And within that unity, they find peace. A peace that power cannot buy and fame cannot preserve. Humility frees us from fear of the cosmos, because we understand we belong to it. There is no need to control, for we have learned to let go, to release the self, the pride, the illusion of immortality. In that moment, we are no longer small before the universe, but a soul breathing with it, free, serene, and eternal in the knowledge that though we are but a part, we are a blessed part of eternity itself. Seneca once said, "Silence is the teacher of the soul." In a world overflowing with noise, he urged humanity to return to the stillness within, silentium anima, where every answer already exists, waiting for us to be quiet enough to hear it. After learning humility before the universe, Seneca realized that the path to wisdom does not lie in loud debate, but in the ability to listen to silence. Silence, for him, was not emptiness, but the sacred space where the soul meets itself. One who knows how to live in silence is never alone, for they are closest to their true nature. To Seneca, silence was not the absence of sound, but the peace of mind, a state where the echoes of desire, anxiety, and fear fade away, leaving only the steady rhythm of existence. Seneca advised, "If you wish to hear the voice of the divine, first make your mind silent." He did not speak of gods in a religious sense, but as symbols of reason and cosmic order. Only in silence can one feel the rhythm of the universe, where everything functions perfectly without human interference. In silence, we see life moving without chaos, time flowing without haste, pain arriving and passing like a drifting cloud. The Stoics considered silence the highest state of mind, for in it, one escapes the tyranny of emotion. When we are no longer pulled by the noise of the world, we begin to hear the small but powerful voice within, the voice of wisdom, of understanding, of an awakened soul. The silence Seneca spoke of was not avoidance, but peaceful confrontation. He wrote, "You cannot run away from yourself. Only in silence can you meet yourself again." Humanity, whether in Seneca's time or today, is trapped in the whirlpool of constant action, doing more, saying more, seeking more, yet understanding so little of itself. In Stoic philosophy, silence is the most courageous act because it demands the bravery to stop. In silence, we see our fears, illusions, and wounds, all that noise tries to conceal. And when we dare to face them, they dissolve. Seneca believed that only when the mind becomes still can reason shine like a flame unshaken by the wind. At that moment, we are no longer victims of circumstance, but clear-eyed observers of our own lives. Seneca compared silence to a lake reflecting the sky. When the water is disturbed, the image breaks. When it is calm, the heavens reveal themselves. So too with the human mind. When stirred by ambition, fear, or anger, it can no longer reflect truth. But when it grows still, reality appears, pure and simple. The Stoics did not seek silence outside, but cultivated it within. They could live amid crowds and remain peaceful, hear noise, yet not be carried away by it. For their silence was not dependent on circumstance. Seneca said, "The wise can hear thunder and remain calm, for within them no storm remains." That is the image of a soul that has reached silentium anima, where there is no longer conflict between reason and emotion, only harmony between the human and the cosmic. For Seneca, silence was the gateway to enlightenment. When we are silent long enough, we discover that every answer we sought, success, love, meaning, was within us all along. The universe is never truly silent. It whispers through every breeze, every rainfall, every heartbeat. It is humanity, lost in the clamor of ambition, that has forgotten how to listen. When we grow still, we understand that life does not need our control, only our presence. When the mind is quiet, the world becomes clear. When the soul is silent, we realize we have never been separate from the universe. We have always been part of it. In that moment, silence is no longer the absence of sound, but the music of eternity, resonating within the hearts of those who are still enough to hear it. Seneca once wrote, "To live according to nature is to live according to reason." That was the foundation of Stoic philosophy, the essence of concordia naturae, harmony with nature. For Seneca, human beings were not born to resist the universe, but to move with it, as a drop of water joins the sea, When the soul has found stillness, it begins to hear the voice of nature, a voice that does not speak in words, but in the flawless order of everything around us. The sprouting of grass, the setting of the sun, the beating of the heart. Everything in nature happens at its right moment, in its right way, never early, never late. Seneca believed that when a person learns to live like that, without forcing, without resisting, without striving against natural law, they will find true freedom and happiness. In his time, Seneca saw that humanity was drifting farther from nature. People built walls of ambition, power, and comfort, forgetting that true strength comes from harmony, not domination. He said, "You may rule over thousands, but if you cannot govern your own greed, you are still a slave." For Seneca, nature was not merely forests, rivers, or skies. It was the primal essence within each human being. When we live against nature, we live against ourselves. When we lose touch with the rhythm of nature, we lose the rhythm of our souls. To the Stoics, returning to nature meant returning to origin, not by abandoning the world, but by seeing it with eyes of harmony. Seneca believed that nature was the greatest teacher, for it taught the law of balance. The sun rises not because it is praised, and it does not stop because it is criticized. Rivers flow not because they are commanded, and they do not cease when they are blocked. Nature simply does what must be done, no more, no less, without hesitation. That, he said, is the lesson for humankind. Live simply, act sincerely, do what is right without craving recognition, and accept what comes without judgment. When we live according to nature, we no longer struggle against life, for we understand that life is not against us, but mirrors us. Every pain, when seen through the eyes of nature, is part of purification, helping us to see ourselves and the world more clearly. Seneca once compared human life to a leaf. It falls when its time has come, not out of anger or fear, but because it understands its season. He said, "Nature gave us life, and will take it back when she must, like a mother calling her child home. This," he explained, "is not only about death, but about all change. To welcome transformation with the calm of a leaf that understands autumn. To live in harmony with nature is to move with the current of existence without struggling, without bending oneself to be loved, accepted, or remembered. Those who live this way no longer fear loss, for they know nothing is truly lost. They no longer fear change, for they understand that change is the breath of the universe." For Seneca, Concordia Naturae was not only a philosophy, but the art of serene existence. When one lives in accord with nature, they dwell in balance between body, mind, and spirit, between the small self and the vast cosmos. They do not waste energy trying to control what lies beyond their reach. Instead, they devote their will to perfecting what they can do now. In that balance, they find freedom. The Stoic does not seek to conquer the world, for they have already conquered themselves. They do not need power to feel strong, for they know that true strength lies in unity with nature's order, where everything is right, where one does not need to win, only to understand. In that moment, they live not only in peace, but in deep oneness with the universe, like a single note perfectly in tune with the eternal symphony of life. Seneca once wrote, "This universe, when seen with mortal eyes, appears chaotic, but when seen with the mind, it reveals perfect order." That is the essence of Ordo Universi, the order of the cosmos, where everything, from life to death, from joy to sorrow, holds its rightful place in the grand design of existence. For Seneca, nothing happens by chance. Every event is part of a greater pattern that only reason can perceive. Humanity, in its smallness, often mistakes its limited view for disorder. Yet when one steps back, when the mind grows still, they begin to see that the universe is not random at all. It is a current guided by eternal reason, where every being fulfills its role in the cosmic symphony. The tree grows, the wind moves, the star fades. All are movements within the rhythm of the same celestial music. Seneca believed that human suffering does not come from an unjust world, but from our failure to perceive the hidden order within what seems unjust. When we see only loss, we call fate cruel. But when we look with the eyes of the cosmos, loss becomes transformation, a necessary exchange to maintain balance. Just as a river must let water flow away for new water to come, life too requires endings for beginnings to arise. Seneca said, "Nothing in the universe is meaningless, not even pain." Pain, to him, was nature's way of tempering the soul. Loss, its way of teaching love. And death, the pause that allows the music of life to continue. Once we understand this, we no longer see the world through resentment, but through trust in the perfection of the cosmic order. In Seneca's philosophy, Ordo Universi was not a mechanical system, but a harmony of reason, nature, and soul. Everything is connected within an invisible web, from the smallest particle of dust to the farthest planet. When a leaf falls, the universe knows. When a human suffers, all of life trembles in some unseen way. Therefore, no one can separate themselves from the universe and expect happiness apart from it. True joy comes only from living in accordance with this order, when our actions do not oppose the logic of nature. Seneca taught that the wise see in every event, whether war or peace, fortune or loss, a fragment of the great law that, if removed, would throw the entire cosmos off balance. When one realizes this, fear dissolves, for they know they are living within the order, not against it. Seneca likened the universe to an immense clockwork, where each gear, large or small, is essential to its smooth operation. He said, "If you suffer, do not ask why you were chosen. Remember that the universe needed you precisely where you are." That captures the Stoic spirit, to see all things from the perspective of the whole. When we focus only on ourselves, the world feels unfair, but from the vantage of the cosmos, everything is perfect. The sun never shines too long. The rain never falls forever. Winter comes only to make way for spring. Everything has its appointed time, and so do we. We arrive when we must, depart when it is time, and leave our trace in the vastness of the universe. In this grand motion, nothing is extra, nothing is wrong. There is only harmony unfolding in the quiet breath of eternity. For Seneca, once a person perceives Ordo Universi, they no longer fear life's uncertainty. What we call chance is simply what we do not yet understand. The Stoic gazes at the star-filled sky and sees not chaos, but structure, law, and meaning. They see themselves as small, yet not insignificant, for they, too, are part of that same order, a single cell within the body of the cosmos. To live in accordance with the order of the universe is to live in accordance with one's own nature, for the human soul is born from the same divine reason, Logos. When we live true to that essence, all becomes clear. Fear fades, suffering makes sense, and life flows in harmony. In that moment, one no longer asks, "Why is this happening to me?" but says, "This is happening for me, because the universe knows I am strong enough to bear it." And that, for Seneca, was the highest state of enlightenment, an unshakable faith in the order of the universe. where everything exists for a reason, and within that understanding, the human soul discovers eternal peace. Seneca once said, "He who lives according to nature lives with the gods." It was not a hymn of religion, but a profound recognition of the union between the human soul and the eternal universe. After understanding the order of the cosmos, Ordo Universi, Seneca concluded that the soul is never separate from the universe, but rather a small spark in its eternal flame. When a person lives wisely, gratefully, and in harmony with nature, they cease to be wanderers in chaos and become companions in the movement of the cosmos. They no longer fear time, for they have merged with what transcends it. They no longer fear death, for they have touched the immortal part within themselves, the essence untouched by body, fame, or memory, pure and luminous as starlight. Seneca believed that the soul of the wise is a reflection of the order of the universe. When one lives according to reason, they become a microcosm of the cosmos, holding the balance of the seasons, the rise and fall of cycles, the light of the sun and the calm of the night. Every action, every thought, every breath moves in harmony with that natural rhythm. Seneca called this the divine life within mortal flesh. No miracle is needed, no prayer required, only understanding and living according to reason. Then, one has already touched eternity. When we realize that we own nothing and lose nothing, that we are not apart from the world, but an inseparable part of it, we experience absolute freedom, a freedom unbound by time, untouched by birth or death. Seneca saw immortality not in endless existence, but in leaving behind harmonious vibrations within the universe. Every wise thought, every kind deed, every moment lived in truth, with our highest self sends ripples that expand endlessly through the ocean of creation. He wrote, "You shall not die if your soul has lived in harmony with reason." For reason, in Stoic philosophy, is logos, the soul of the universe, the essence of the divine. When we live wisely, we do not merely understand logos, we become part of it. Just as a flame cannot burn apart from air, the soul cannot live apart from the universe. In that union, one reaches what Seneca called the peace of the stars, where mind and cosmos are no longer two, but one. Seneca believed that to live wisely is not to live long, but to live deeply, to live so that every moment contains a taste of eternity. When we are grateful for every breath, when we cherish every instant, when we cease fearing loss and instead choose to love, we begin to touch the eternal. Time cannot erase what has been fully lived. The Stoic does not seek immortality in the body, but in spirit, in the way they live, the way they love, the way they meet the world. They understand that greatness lies not in prolonging life, but in transforming its brevity into a fragment of the eternal. And when they grasp this truth, they no longer fear, for they have discovered that eternity is not in the future, but in the very now. In the final moments of his life, Seneca, who had spent his years teaching about reason, gratitude, and harmony with nature, faced death with serenity. He did not see it as a loss, but as the final act of return. His soul, like a drop of water, dissolved into the ocean of the cosmos, not vanished, only transformed. In that merging, he became immortal. Seneca's spirit lives not in books, but in every person who lives with awareness, who loves life, who gives thanks for the gift of being. His philosophy ends with a message both simple and eternal. Live according to nature, with wisdom and gratitude, for in doing so, you have already touched immortality, not after death, but while you are still alive.